So, how should you own your rental property? Hello, I'm Claire from the Yanowitz Law Firm, where we have helped people protect what matters most. Okay, let's get started. So, how should you own that rental property of yours? Oftentimes clients come into my office, and when we're looking over how their property's titled, they'll own rental property in their individual names. And sometimes I'll recommend to them that they might want to consider putting that rental property in an LLC. And the benefit of having it in LLC is it can create some asset protection in the event something happens with that piece of property where they're getting sued as a result of having that rental, or if something happens in their personal or professional life, it can create kind of a box around that rental property, so it can make it harder for that bad event in their personal life kind of bleeding in and taking over that real estate, attaching to that real estate. So it can act as kind of like a doubled walled protection. Now, with considering to do an LLC, oftentimes my preference is to, with a married couple, is to have it just be that LLC owned by one person, and instead of both parties. And the reason for that is if both spouses own the LLC, they'll have to file a tax return each year for that LLC. But if it's a one-member LLC, meaning it's just owned by one of the spouses, there's no separate and different tax return for the LLC every year. So that simplifies income taxes a bit, just having a one-member LLC. Now, if our client has a trust, we don't usually take title in the client's individual name. If we're creating the LLC doesn't already exist. We'll take title in the name of the trust, so that at their death, the property will go to the trust. It'll be in the trust already and won't trigger probate. Now, something I do look at, if the client already has an LLC set up and they're meeting with us, I kind of look at two different things. First, I want to look and make sure that's still active with the Minnesota Secretary of State. If you already have an LLC in place, you need to file this annual renewal with the Minnesota Secretary of State. And if you don't do that, your LLC will become inactive, and that's a problem. So you'd want to reactivate it if that was the case. And then the second thing I want to know is sometimes people will create an LLC, but they don't actually transfer the real estate into the LLC. So the real estate will still be in their individual names, and then they'll just have this LLC, and they're treating it like it's owning the real estate, but when you actually look at the deed, it's not. So I want to check that over and make sure the deed, the real estate is actually conveyed to the LLC. Once this LLC is established, it is important to treat it like a separate entity. So you would get your own bank account for the rental. So, when someone pays rent to you, you wouldn't just add it to your own personal account. You'd add it to the LLC's bank account, and then routinely take withdrawals from the LLC account as that investment earns money. Another common question I get from people who have like multiple pieces of rental real estate: can I just create one LLC and then just put all the real estate, all the investment real estate that I own in that LLC? And my preference is not to do that, because basically, the more little compartments you create for each piece of your rental property, the more protection you have. So if you just put in everything into one LLC, it's like putting poison in a big pool. If something bad were to happen, it goes everywhere in the pool. Same thing with the LLC. If you have something bad happen with one of your rental properties and they're all in the same LLC, that bad thing just permeates and affects everything in that LLC. So it's better to create all these little bitty cubicles for your LLC properties so that if something bad happens with one LLC, it doesn't create a problem for all your other investment real estate. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any questions, or if you found this video helpful and thinks you know someone who would benefit from seeing, feel free to forward it along and so that they can watch it as well. Thank you.